Hey everyone, Beyond the Book with Julie here. I am so excited to introduce you to Corey Minor-Smith, who will be joining me today. And I have to tell you where I'm at. I'm in Lexington, Massachusetts, as you can see behind me. Lexington Historical Society. I just love that building. And it's just so lush and green and beautiful here. And I am in Lexington because I was meeting another book author who I'll be interviewing in just a few weeks, Marjan Kamali, who has a beautiful book out, and it's actually her second book. And why can I not think of the title at the moment, but it's a beautiful cover, and I will be talking about it later, and I'll be showing a picture of her and I here on the streets in Lexington, and this area is just so beautiful. Just down the street is a statue of where the Revolutionary War began. And it is just so amazing to be here in the Northeast. I love it so much and so excited to be with Corey Minor-Smith today. She has a really incredible story of how she overcame so much in her childhood, in her upbringing, and how she has just made herself a huge success. And I just love when I get to meet people with such inspiration and their stories of just overcoming and determination and perseverance. I love that so much. Let's see if I can help find her. And I love that her book title is Driven. Hello, Corey. How are you?
Hi, Julie. Nice to see you.
So good to see you. I'm here out in the grassy area. Uh-oh, now you can't see. How fun is this? I'm in front of the Lexington Historical Society. I'm in
Awesome.
Massachusetts. Where are you located?
Canton, Ohio.
Very nice. How's the weather there
Yes.
right now?
It's nice today. It's like a high of 87, so this is great for us.
Oh, wonderful. It's like drizzling here. So hopefully it doesn't start raining, which is why my
Oh,
hair is kind of like, ugh.
you
But
look
you look
great. You look great.
fabulous.
Thank you.
You look great, and your book is amazing. You are such a beautiful person inside and out. You
Thank you so
truly
much.
are. You're driven beyond anything. Where do we start? You are just, it's like I want you to tell us your whole story, but people will have to go and buy your book. But I want to talk about, you overcame so much in your childhood. Both your parents were sort of not, would you say, not really there for you?
Definitely not the nuclear family that, society portrays that everyone should have. But definitely there were people who filled in the gaps for the time periods that they were not able to be there as a mother or father in the traditional sense that we may see for our lives as we grow up. But, through my own living, I've come to understand that everyone lives his and her own lives. And, we may not fulfill the roles that other people have in mind for us to fulfill in their lives. So it's a matter of us as individuals accepting that and understanding there's just differences and we're not going to fulfill everybody's expectations.
That's right. When you look back at your childhood, what was the hardest thing? What was the hardest moment that you sometimes look back and wonder, wow, how did I survive that?
Well,
I
quite
know you
honestly, I didn't interpret it as such until becoming an adult and learning that there was a phrase for a part of what I went through, which is food insecurity. That seems like it's something simple because I thought, well, I did eat. It wasn't like I didn't eat all the time, but just the sense of not knowing where your next meal is going to come from, or you feel the need to steal in order to have food to eat that day. Those are some days that I look back on as an adult and get emotional. Just grocery shopping now, I look at how when I was a kid, I would ride my bike to the store. And with the little money I had, I would get the things my mom asked me to get. And I would just stand in line hoping that somebody would pay for the items that I had so that I could go back and get just a little bit more with the amount that I went to the store with. And then, that never happened, but it was something that I imagined. And now as an adult, I think back on it and just feel grateful to God that I'm able to buy all the groceries that I want to without any concern for needing someone else to do it for me. And, riding my bike with the groceries on the handlebars, I had to evenly distribute them to balance it out.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I see some people like that today, like even adults. I saw just a grown man the other day. I was donating or volunteering with my sorority, and we were helping a church give out food and have people register to vote, and also to get census information. And there was a man who came on his bike, and he loaded up the thing. It just reminded me of when I was a child and did the same thing. And he, as an adult, is doing that.
What would you say were acts of kindness that you so vividly remember that people
Wow.
did reach out to you and show you acts of kindness?
Wow, that is really summed up in all the people who took me in when they didn't have to. As you will read in the book, hashtag driven.
Love it.
There were 8 different households. I count them by each parent, grandparents, grandmothers, relatives, and sometimes friends that allowed me to live with them. So I wasn't in a formal foster care system. I call it community care. But I am so grateful today for all of the people who took me in when they didn't have to, especially those who weren't related to me. So I think that's a beyond an act of kindness. It's just out of the goodness of their hearts, the love and whatever they felt they wanted to do to help at that time, because it was a tremendous help. And I owe all gratitude, and I feel like I'm indebted to them, for the rest of my life, for them being so gracious to me and to my family, for taking on a responsibility for someone that they were not receiving any type of assistance to support. So I always think of them, and any accomplishment that I've made in my life, I attribute it to their role and their part in my life and helping me to get through school, childhood, everything.
You became extraordinarily successful. You are an attorney. You wrote a book. You have done a lot, and you give in a forward way, right? You are involved with charity and you give back. But when you do look back, what what moment was it that you decided I'm going to be successful? I'm going to go to college because no one was pushing you to go to college, I
Right,
imagine. So how
right.
did that come for you?
Well, it was actually my transition period. It used to be in my many, many drafts of what is now hashtag driven. I had a chapter called Turning a New Leaf. And I remember that being the transition from ninth grade to 10th grade. I made a conscious effort to go to a different school than the school that I was assigned to by neighborhood. And that was because of a lot of the activity that I was involved in with my friends, at the time. We were, trying to sell drugs, drinking underage, taking cars. None of us had license. Eventually the police were called on me by my stepmother, and I believe that that was a turning point for me. While I did not get arrested, it definitely woke me up to what I was doing. Although at that time I really didn't care. I just kind of had a cold heart at that time and didn't care if he took me to juvenile detention. But I remember going to my guidance counselor at my junior high school, Franklin Junior High in South Vallejo, California, and asking for help to transfer to a different school, because I felt like if I went to my neighborhood school, I would be in more fights than school assemblies with the route that I was going at that time. And so he helped me to write an essay. I got accepted into that other school, made the drill team, but lo and behold, another move. So I did not get to go to that school, but it was still in me to do better, and I started doing better. My grades improved significantly, and I just knew that I wanted to do the best that I could so that I could move forward with going to college or whatever was going to be my way out into a better life.
Amazing. So you were having all of these experiences and you just sort of were able to kind of almost see yourself outside of yourself and realize this was not the life that you wanted to keep going on.
Yeah, there was actually a young lady at my school. We were on the drill team together, but I just wanted to emulate her. I liked the way she looked. I liked the way she dressed. And so she was kind of like a guide for me. I'm going to be like her. And she was going to go to that other school as well. And until I found value for myself and understanding what I wanted out of my life, I kind of followed her as a guide. And then I started to understand the significance of education and the value of education and earning, the highest grades that I could to do whatever I was ultimately going to do in life.
Did she become a friend of yours?
Well, she was a friend already, but she wasn't in my little group. Like we had this group called the Posse. We basically wore hoodies all the time. We had the Posse on our hood, gym shoes, big baggy pants, and we just hung out. And she was not one of us. She was our friend. She hung out maybe once or twice, but she was totally different than my group of friends. And I saw that difference in her. And just by appearance, I wanted to be more like her.
That's incredible. So always great to have role models and to see the people around us, right? Even if
Yeah.
they're our own peers.
Yes.
Fast forward, you become an attorney. What have you enjoyed more in your work, being the prosecutor or defending?
Wow, I find it in my heart defending. I do feel that as a prosecutor, I was fair, and especially because I was a juvenile prosecutor, and there were children essentially that were being prosecuted for crimes or acts that would be considered crimes if done by an adult. And ultimately understanding the value of their future or what their future could hold if they wanted it. So as a defense attorney, sometimes I had the opportunity to speak those types of words of encouragement to my clients. And I just feel like sometimes anybody can be that source of inspiration, no matter what the situation is that a person is in. And maybe they may not, just like I didn't, accept it at the time, but later as they grow up, those words may come back to them, just like the words of my teacher. She wasn't even an assigned teacher. She was a teacher at my high school that helped students to fill out scholarship applications and college applications. And I was one of those students. And she told me that I had what she called undesirable circumstances because she knew about a lot of the things in my life. Some of the things I'm just now learning, like I moved at least 21 times before even going to college. So in addition to the 8 households, the moves were even more, having parents in and out of jail and on and off of drugs, and ultimately coming to the understanding and now advocating for mental health because of my mother's diagnosis with severe mental illness. So of everything, it's the advocacy that I've learned that I have in me to help other families, to help loved ones that have and are living with severe mental illness, and those families and friends that want to be there to support them, but understanding it can be a very difficult and complicated situation.
Right, because you lived it and there
Absolutely.
are so many facets of it, and it's not easy and it's not black and white. And there's a lot of empathy that needs to
Yes.
be there, right? And
And
sometimes
patience. Yes.
patience.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of drive, which is what you had, right? To keep going and to find the answers and to find the help that you need in life.
Right. Yes, I truly believe it's important for everyone to understand and know that it is okay to ask for help. You shouldn't put all of the pressure on yourself to excel in whatever it is by yourself. People are in your circle, behind you, in your corner for a reason. And it's important that we accept the help and know that it's okay. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger, actually, to understand and know that you don't know everything and that you need the help and support of others in order to reach goals that you may set for yourself.
When you look at your career and all that you've accomplished, I know it's been so much. Can you share one experience that has sort of brought you the most joy or the most satisfaction, that, wow, I've done all this and I was able to help so and so or make a difference in
Yeah.
this?
Well, in addition to just having my own children, I mean, my first son, he was born my senior year in college, and just being able to continue within the 4 years, and then having my second son and continue in my career, I really appreciate being able to do that. But more importantly, I feel so much joy from children who may have heard me speak to their class when they were like in the sixth grade or younger, and now they're seniors in high school or going, into a sophomore year in college, and they remember words that I shared from so many years ago. And for some of them, having extreme circumstances, more serious than the things that I've experienced, and being able to overcome that, I have been told that I was an inspiration to them in knowing that they could, just seeing a possibility of what could happen. And I really appreciate when they reach out to me. With Facebook and all these other forms of social media, a lot of people are able to connect, and they remember and are able to just share the impact that you may have in their lives.
As a mother, what have you continually tried to impress on your sons? What value?
Well, I've always told them, and we would have these little family meetings, but I want them to just grow up to be self-sufficient, independent young men. And I believe that they have the tools, the all the necessary skills that they need to do that. And like any of us, need continued inspiration and encouragement to fulfill their talents and to share their gifts ultimately with the community. And I've seen that in both of them, from my youngest son and all the time and hours he spent with the Humane Society because he liked dogs, to my oldest son starting an organization on his campus and being involved in the community in his own merit and on his own merit. And because he has a desire to do so. So most importantly for them, neither one of them to feel that they have to in any way follow in my footsteps or to be in any way the same line of advocacy that I am, but that they follow their own paths and their own passion. And that's what I encourage.
So important, right? Because that's
Yes.
how they live their most authentic self and be who they're meant to be, by
Yes.
following their own passion. How do your kids know what you went through and sort of the trials, right? Because I'm also a parent, and it's like they don't necessarily want to hear, right, about
Right.
what it was like for you, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, mom. But like when you look at how much abundance you've been able to provide for them, I'm sure there have been times where you wonder, are they really going to appreciate this? Do they understand like where I came from and what I've overcome that
Yeah.
they get to receive? How do you handle that?
Well, it has happened like authentically, if you will. Like I mentioned, the grocery store, for example. There was a time where I became emotional in the cereal aisle at a grocery store because I just looked up and down the aisle and said to myself, I can buy any one of these cereals that I want. And it touched me so. And of course, they were with me and were like, Mom, why are you crying in the store?
Like, it's just cereal, mom. We don't have to
Right.
use cereal.
But they had to understand. But I also had to understand because when they were much younger, they would say that we're running out of milk. And I would get literally frantic, like, oh my God, I got to go to the store. And I found myself going to the store like 3 times a week. And I had to stop myself, like, we're not even any way close to being out of milk. There's like a half a gallon or more left. But in my mind, it like triggered memories. It triggered the lack that I experienced. And I didn't want my children to ever to say, even start the sentence, we don't have, or go into a cabinet like I did and say, we don't have. And so I would run out to the store and get it. And the thing and I talk about it in my book, hashtag driven. I talk about Shannon Sharp and his acceptance speech to the Pro Football Hall of Fame when he was being inducted as a Hall of Famer. I don't follow football and I'm not familiar with him at all, but his speech resonated with me so. And he talked about how he had coaches and trainers that always asked, like, why are you always training? Why are you always working out and conditioning when other people are going out to eat and socializing and having fun? And in his mind, all he knew is that he wanted to be the best football player that he could be. And why was that? It was the drive that he built up over the years because he didn't want to return to his circumstances. He didn't want to return to eating cold oatmeal and possum and squirrel or living in a house that leaked every time it rained. He wanted more for himself. And more importantly, what really stuck with me is that he said he didn't want his children to live one day let alone 1 hour, 1 minute, or a second in the life that he lived. And that's how I felt with my sons. And they were with me at this thing. So again, I was crying and they're like, Mom, what's wrong with you? But
Right.
it touched me so, because that's
So
why I have been living my life the way I have, especially after becoming a mother, because I always knew I wanted a family because I didn't have one. I knew at the age of 9 that I wanted a family, in the traditional nuclear sense, of a family. But I had to grow and learn that, just because the family is not the traditional format that we may see, a mother, a father, and children, that you're still family, that there still can be love shared, and that you can still press forward to reach whatever goals, individually, collectively, and the like, regardless if there's the mother and father in the same home or not. Ultimately, it's the love that continues to have us connected and to move forward so that everybody can try to live his and her best lives. And that's ultimately what I want, especially for those things that haven't worked out the way I wanted them to work out.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, because we come into this world with these preconceived ideas, right? And it's
Yes.
the nuclear family, what we're told, what we watch on TV, and
Yes.
how do we, and it's really about like unleashing that and realizing like it is what it is, and how do we
Yes.
make the best of every
You
situation.
definitely have to let go of the shoulds. I should do this. I should do that, because who said so? These are rules, and conditioning that we develop. It's not a good or a bad thing, but we just have to learn and understand that they don't have to be that way if they're not. We move forward as things come and go, as people come and go, as situations come and go, and continue to move forward. And more importantly, just continuing to have positive assessments, or just taking the time to assess things that are going on in your life, your goals, your objectives, what it is that you want to do, and understanding how you can get there with the help of others. And also just having self-care implemented in your own life so that you can have the energy and the space, the mindset to move forward with what you want to reach in life.
I'm sure that early in your career you were working so hard and you still work so hard. How, at what point did you realize the value of self care and make time for it?
Wow, I'm learning that right now because I
So
did a
hard,
show.
right?
Yeah.
We never have enough time, ever.
Right. And for me, I felt like any time that was downtime, I was being unproductive, and I had to be productive. Otherwise, I was not moving forward with reaching my goals. But, even through college and grad school, for sure, I had professors tell me, you need to slow down. You're going to burn out. And I'm like, what? I'm going. And then my sister in love, Jamel, she always tells me, take time, smell the roses. What? I don't have time to do that. I got to do this, and this. But I've understood now, especially with the more I am being involved with my mother and learning about severe mental illness and how to help others who want to be there for their loved one living with severe mental illness. You have to take care of yourself. You have to put yourself first and understand and know that self first is not selfish. But if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be available to help other people. It's just like putting that learning the instructions when we go off on a plane. I know a lot of people haven't been on a plane in a while, or maybe you have, as long as you wear your mask.
Yeah.
But understanding with that overhead thing that drops out, and you have to put yours on first, because literally it's backed by science that you will lose air capacity in your own functioning and not be able to recognize shapes to help somebody else put it on, let alone by the time you helping everybody else put it on yourself. So take care of yourself, and that way you will have more energy, more time to help other people. And I
Right.
strongly believe that now, because I've felt the drain, I felt the energy sapping from me, trying to be there when I needed to be there for myself.
What is your best form of self care? What is something you do that
Lay
you
in the
do every day
bed.
for an
I
extra
really
5 minutes?
I've come more and more familiar with Netflix, and I'm proud of myself. I have my own account now. So just, watching the latest movies that I hear about, my oldest son is really into telling me about things that I should watch. So I'll, watch those things, and we'll discuss them, and learning more and more about just relaxing. It doesn't have to mean that you have to do anything,
Right.
but Yoga is great. Learning
Yes.
how to meditate is great. Just reading is great. And my favorite of all, I don't live by water, but I hope to one day soon. But just to be in the presence of water and listening to the sounds of water really provide me with a lot of relaxation. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah. So water, whether you're in the ocean or the pool or sitting out by a beach watching and listening
Yep.
to the waves. That
Yes, I love it.
I love it too. Isn't it
Yes.
amazing? Like
Yes.
it's amazing the feeling that overcomes you to look out into that expansive ocean and realize like it's so expansive. It's amazing. I love that
Yes.
too. I
And
know
hearing the
exactly.
waves crash are just so relaxing.
Yes, absolutely. I love all of your reminders of self-care and self first versus selfish. Yes, and somebody
Yes.
just wrote that. I love that.
Yes.
Self first, not selfish.
Absolutely. And you find that it's important. Again, my main premise in writing hashtag driven is to use it as a resource for families and friends that have a loved one living with severe mental illness. We're moving into July. We just came out of May, which was National Mental Health Awareness Month. July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's named after B.B. Moore Campbell, who was a three-time best-selling New York Times best-selling author. And she wrote a book called 72-Hour Hold, a fictional story, but I do believe it's based on her experiences with her daughter. Some may be familiar with her. She is an actress and she used to be in a show out in the 90s with LL Cool J and Debbie Allen called In the House. And she was the daughter. Well, on that show, she started showing signs of mental illness. And so right now, today, she still is out in the community, but her mother, B.B. Moore Campbell, has since died. And National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month is named in her honor because of all the work that she did with the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And so I just encourage people to learn more about mental health and wellness and understanding that there's nothing to be ashamed about. It's a part of a human experience for a lot of people. And it's important for individuals to advocate whether you have someone in your family, you or not, because there are so many people in our community who are living on the streets with untreated severe mental illness, who are subjected to just the ills of this society because they are mentally ill and may not have individuals there to help them. But just advocating for research, for funding, for treatment, and ultimately services, because it is a high turnover industry, if you will. The people who work as community healthcare workers, they don't get paid a lot. And unfortunately, we want people to have living wages to do the work that they love to do. And sometimes people can't do the work they love to do because they can't earn enough money to live
Right,
adequately,
right.
which is understandable. But this is such a serious issue. And we need more and more voices collectively to talk to our legislators, to talk to our people in charge, if you will, and understand and know the significance of those who are in need of the services.
That's right. And for nonprofit organizations, which do you really like or support in this area?
Well, my number one is NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I went through their 12-week course. I believe it's reduced now to 9 weeks, but they had a 12-week course for families and friends that have a loved one living with severe mental illness. It was such an enlightening experience. I was the only one there that was a child of, a parent who was mentally ill. There were different dynamics at play, but we all had the same and similar experiences with our loved ones. So it was learning the science, learning about the research, on brain conditions and illnesses, and understanding the medication, and most importantly, just understanding the services that are available in the community. So right now, we have a global pandemic going
Yeah.
on. We have
Yeah.
global protests going on, and I'm calling for global change, and that's inclusive of mental health awareness and services. As we talk more and more about the police and police reform, it's important to understand how law enforcement has been involved in crisis intervention efforts. And while there is important for community service, behavioral healthcare service workers to be involved as well, in certain situations, it is important for law enforcement that are properly trained for crisis intervention to be there as well. So understand all of these dynamics that are in play as you listen to things and watch things that are posted on social media and in the news so that you can make an informed decision. Because ultimately, we all need to vote and we all need to complete our Census 2020 information, because the government, our tax dollars are distributed based on the information that's collected from the census. We need people to be counted in order for them to know where the services are needed, where the grocery stores are needed. A lot of my advocacy comes from the experiences that I had growing up. You know, living in a food desert, I understand that now because I lived it. Experiencing food scarcity, I understand that because I lived through it. You know, having a parent with mental illness who couldn't be the parent that I wanted and wish that I had, it's okay because there are services available that you can help to make sure are in the community by filling out your census information.
Right.
So I just encourage people to do that and understand that their vote counts and them being counted in the census matters as well.
Right. Everyone needs to use their voice, advocate for what they believe, and have
Yes.
empathy, right? Have
Yes.
empathy. Because if we have empathy, then we are open and we understand others,
Right.
especially people who are different from us. And it could be because of mental health issues or just have a different walk in life.
Absolutely. And I
So,
offer this simple sheet. It's not simple, but it's 5 essential keys to loving a loved one with severe mental illness. And your audience can go to my website, CoreyEmpowers.com, to sign up for it. But it gives you 5 essential keys because many times people don't even know that some of the things that they may not like about a family member or don't understand about a family member is attributable to mental health issues or concerns. And it's best to assess it and address it in the beginning versus allowing it to grow and fester untreated and become worse. So
right.
even with our children, if your pediatrician is not already doing a mental health assessment on your child during their physicals, ask for that. It doesn't mean that you think that your child is mentally ill. It's just making sure and being proactive that you're addressing anything. Many times our children are dealing with things at school that we don't know about because they don't want to talk to us about it. The bullying, the feeling peer pressure, whatever it may be, and it can
And
cause
it's so
depression.
significant and it's
Yes.
so huge. I mean, it can be really debilitating.
Yes. And so you can ask the pediatrician for an assessment and be able to address things then. If there's nothing that needs to be addressed, then great. But
Right.
don't be afraid to ask for
Right.
it. Hmm.
Absolutely. We can't help if we don't know, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You are a beautiful person inside and out,
Thank you.
Corey. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank you.
sharing yourself and sharing all that you've learned in life and being such a driven person. You're amazing. Wave up your book again so everyone can buy it.
Yes, hashtag driven. And also, just in regards to NAMI, it's so easy to call or text. You can text NAMI, NAMI, to 741-741, or you can call 1-800-950-6264, or go to NAMI.org for more information. But there are so many resources that are free, confidential, and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people should not be ashamed, feel any kind of way about it, but to get the help that they need for themselves or for a loved one.
And NAMI, tell me again what it stands for.
Sure, it's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And as I said, hashtag driven is a resource for families and friends. And I have, a part of my book that talks about NAMI and some of the strategies that I suggest for families to be able to be there when they want to. It is difficult, but it is possible. And we just have to make sure we do implement self-care with everything that we do.
That's right, because self first is
It's
important.
not selfish.
You're the best.
Right.
I love it. Take care.
Yes.
So good to
Thank
meet you
you.
today. Thank
It's
you
nice
so
to meet
much.
you too. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye bye.
Bye.